right, here we go. We are live once more. All right, so what are we going to do today? All right, so yeah, that's right. So today, once again, I unfortunately didn't have time to put together a lesson plan. I didn't get that many requests for specific topics either. So I figured, let's just keep doing what I've been doing. All right, I'm going to keep working on the music. If you've been following along, you will notice that I have not gotten a lot of work done on these pieces. I was getting a little frustrated with arrangements, so I took a break from them, and I worked on sketching out the pieces for the other scenes in the play. Since I have the primary themes that I'm working with, and I know I already took the time to plot out how I want to use music in each scene, I have detailed notes. In fact, you can even kind of see it here. Those are like the initial lists. They're like descriptions of the scenes and what happens in them and all that kind of good stuff. So I've got plans. Took some time to sketch them out, and now today, after a nice long weekend and a couple days off, I'm going to get back to these arrangements that I've been working on. In particular, this third one right here that's been causing me so much vexation. But yeah, so welcome everybody. Welcome Matt. Welcome Adol, a couple of the regulars. Thank you for stopping by the stream. Boomerdell liked my photo on Instagram. Thank you, Boomerdell. And you'll notice I got rid of the annoying sound the notifications make on my computer. But for now, I have the script in front of me. I'm not supposed to share the script, so I'm not going to. Instead, what I'm going to do is while we listen to this, I'm going to read along with the script to kind of see how things fit in. And I'm just going to kind of take some notes on my trusty little yellow notebook. I've got an egg shaker on my desk. So that's what that noise is. But I'll be taking notes on things that I want to adjust on this, and we'll kind of be adding on to it. As usual, you guys know the drill by now. Any questions you have about music theory, about composition, about emotions in music, throw them in the comments, all right? And the cool thing about that is with my severe ADHD, for every one question you ask, I'll probably answer like 7. So we'll see what happens, all right? But for now, let's start hitting play and getting to work. That piano's a bit harsh. Mentioned in the script. Alright, so then this is kind of where I ran out of material. Alright, so looking at the script that I have in front of me that I unfortunately can't share with you guys, things are going pretty well. I have a nice, low, menacing sense of tension. What I need to do now is I need to build that tension right around this point here at the lion's roar. Which I need to make the lion's roar fit in with the audio a bit better. Right now it sticks out, and I don't even know if this is the one I'm going to work with. This is just a placeholder. Over here, I've got a couple other ones that you might notice. See, I like the start to this one, but I don't like it that it keeps going. So what if I took this start and then found a way to merge it with this one. I don't know. This, I could get lost down this track, but there is a moment in the script where it's specifically mentions a lion's roar. So I gotta find some way to make that work. What would this do? That might work. What if I brought it in a little bit, just a bit more overlap? That might be it. Alright, so what we're going to do, copy and paste these over here, and then as we go on, I'll probably open this up in a different software and doctor it up much more cleanly. Let's bring this in over here. And so what I'm going to have to do with this, I'm going to have to find the timing right. I'm going to have to pan it, put it further back in the stereo field so it sounds a bit further away, add some reverb. In fact, add the same type of reverb to all the instruments in here to make them all sound like they're in the same room. All that kind of cool stuff to make it just fit a little bit better. But the main thing here is the bass finishes its melody here. And at this lion's roar, I want to make it feel bigger. Alright. I'm going to have to make this bass sound a little bit nicer too. But it's not high priority at the moment. So, my idea for this is I've already got plenty of layers going on. I mean, I could always add more. There's always additional layers you can add. But in the synths, I have a bass patch that has kind of a windy quality to it. Because again, the wind is something mentioned specifically in the script. Then I have this kind of ringing bell, because it kind of fits the same. There's supposed to be a sense of static. This is a really weird scene for me to be describing without giving context. But there's also supposed to be some, it's like a television static, radio type static. Then I have the high ostinato, a low accordion synth, the piano, and then down here, the basses. Because my plan is, instead of switching from having the solo bass continue, I cannot talk today. I originally had the solo bass performing just kind of a pulsing bass line again, something like, which you can see. I had to tap that because there we go. Now my keyboard's working, and I'm thinking, going to add some stringed instruments. Nothing too large, about a 20-piece string section. So like 6 first violins, 4 second violins, 4 violas, 4 celli, 2 basses kind of feel. I don't know if that's 20, but I think that's 20. Sai Harsha, hey, can you tell what you have done to bring that cinematic piano sound? Awesome, thank you. Nothing much at the moment. I just picked one of my pianos. I usually work with the Grandeur. I have 3 pianos. The Grandeur, the Giant, and the Gentleman, all by Native Instruments. But for this sound palette, I just like the sound of the Gentleman, which is an upright piano. And based off the setting that it's describing in the script, I felt that an upright piano would be more appropriate. They have subtle differences in color, but if you were to hear the same thing played on an upright piano versus a grand piano, they do have different tone colors. Subtle differences, but differences nonetheless. So probably the biggest part of what makes it sound cinematic to you is I'm using a very Hollywood type chord progression. All right, it's just E minor and A minor. And over the top of that, I'm just alternating with a type of trill. So yeah, if you ever really want kind of that cinematic piano feel, you can never go wrong with just some moody chords and a very repetitive rhythmic idea. So you could do any kind of movement if you wanted. If I can play the right part. It's kind of a repetitive movement. I'm not a piano player, as you can probably tell. It's a little clunky. But that's literally all I'm doing through the entire thing. At the very beginning, it has a bit of an intro. It hints at the motif, because this is where we finally see a character kind of show their true colors for the first time. And then I just have a moody piano. Sustained chords, repetitive motion above it using chordal tones. So I suppose that's kind of what you're getting at with like a cinematic type piano. But yeah, moody harmony. So like dark chords, chord relationships, really. If you look up my video on chord relationships and emotions, I have a blog post too. I'm going to start focusing a lot more on my blog recently, just because I don't have enough time, as much time as I would like to edit videos. So I'm basically going to be writing scripts for future videos and just sharing them as a blog. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. But let's see here. So my job now is at this kind of roar, this lion roar. I gotta figure out what layers are being played. I essentially have a bunch of synths, a piano, and some basses. Marion, welcome to the chat. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. It's wonderful to see everybody. It's a nice, busy chat today. Let's see here. So, let's see at the layers. Let's take out my notes. I need to start figuring out... Oh, that's from a question a few streams ago where someone asked how to use percussion instruments. Let's see here. So, let's kind of go one at a time, shall we? Well, first, I have a pulsing bass. All right? Pulsing bass. We can probably zoom out a little bit. We'll say that's layer number 1. All right, so after the basses, I have the piano. And actually, let's get a pitch range for all of these, shall we? Because I want to make sure that I'm not competing. So there's something called clarity of design in orchestration, which is how clear does your music sound. One of the big rules behind clarity in design is that each layer should have its own pitch register. All right, so if you have, especially if they're both motivic and important. All right, so for example, if you have a sustained chords, you should, and a melody. Let's see, let's actually go with the harmony. I should have the melody in one register and the chords in another. If I have them overlapping, it kind of breaks down clarity, especially if the notes are sustaining a bit longer with strings and stuff. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have nice pitch distribution between my layers. And the pulsing bass is on essentially E1 in Cubase, which in scientific pitch notation is E2, or the E, a major third above low C. All right, so let's move this down here. It's bugging me in that corner for some reason. All right, so above the bass, we have sustained chords and an ostinato. So we'll say layer 2 is sustained chords, and their register is E2 to C3, which in Cubase is E3 to C4, or the E below middle C to middle C. All right, so next we have an ostinato, which goes from E3 to B3. Again, that's added up an octave, so E4 to B4. So far, we're doing pretty good. No overlap so far. We've got the lion's roar. Not going to worry about that too much. Pulsing bass line again. This time on this time on the accordion bass, so I'm gonna say E2 and E3. So there's a little bit of overlap with the sustained chords. That's fine. I might remove that if it causes issues. Then we have a high ostinato, which it's important to note. All right, this is written for this synth as E4. That's the E just above middle C. However, on the piano, that would be, and what we are hearing is, so the reason why is this synth is transposed, all right? So what I write in Cubase is actually going to sound 1, 2, 3 octaves higher. So we'll say ostinato 2, which is E, so that's so E4, then it's E5, E6, E7. So we've got a nice wide palette here. Ringing bell, I believe, is at the same pitch. Yeah, E5, so E6. Wow, there are a lot more layers here than I anticipated. All right, so 6 layers so far. And why did it go down? And then there's another one. The windy bass. All right, so yeah, that windy bass note is again E2. So yeah, we can say, we'll just say windy bass. So if we were to kind of break these down a little bit, we've got E2 all the way to E7. So this is quite a broad range. So if I'm going to be adding layers to this, because I'm basically adding more instruments, stringed instruments to each of these layers, I may be adding some fillers in between. Let's highlight everything so I can just kind of visualize it together. Alright, so yeah, let's work on this. Alright, so we've got the basses going to be down here already. Matt asks, how do you see the spectrum in Cubase to see how full your sound is? Good question. What we're going to want to do is go up here to input-output challenges, go to stereo output, and then, let's get rid of this. You're just going to hit play. And you can see the frequency output here. And let's unsolo everything, so we can actually see it. Alright, so you can see there's a whole lot of low end, some super high end, and it starts to fall apart down here a little bit, around the 2K area. So that's a good point. I could probably fill that up a little bit if I wanted to, but let's just see what happens naturally. So let's say we're going to be working, let's shorten our window and put it on repeat, shall we? So we've got the basses playing. I definitely want to double this piano part. All right, this kind of moving ostinato. So this is just above middle C. Sorry, you can probably hear the dog barking downstairs. His name is Copper, a very friendly dog. Not the brightest. He's scared of his own shadow. Let's see here, 99. Let's move this down. And let's try it on the violas, shall we? Now it's going to take a little while for Cubase to load all the things I need because my computer is very slow. I wonder if the mail lady is here. Delivering the mail. He likes the mail lady because she gives him dog treats. I apologize for the noise. Let's see here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's load the expression map. I don't want my solo string expression maps. I want Studio Strings Professional. Let's go with violas. I have 6 violas, not 12. Let's go up here and let's just tell this library. Let's lengthen it a little bit to play everything staccato. Or we'll do spiccato for now. these would probably be a little difficult to play on a viola. What if I did something kind of cool here and did triplet eighth notes? No, that wouldn't work because these are... What are these? Not eighth... Are they? No, these are 16th notes. Alright, no, they're not 16th notes. What's going on here? What are these note values? I thought they were eighth notes. What's going on here? What note values are these? Oh yeah, so they are 16th notes. I don't know why it didn't kind of fit for a second. Let's do 16 note triplets. What if I... No. You know, it doesn't matter if it's difficult to play on strings, because these string parts are not meant to be performed. Alright, these are just kind of meant to be played by Cubase, so if they sound good, that's the rule. I'm not looking to make them realistic to play. What if I muted the bottom one and had them just kind of play the offbeats? Thing I should do is I'll lower down each of these so as if they're alternating bowing directions, the second ones would be weaker. Probably not that much. What if I... And then, let's see here. Let's just unmute everything and see how it sounds from the beginning. Anyone have any questions? Any questions about music theory, composition, anything to distract me from what I'm supposed to be doing? Let me know. I'd be happy to address them. And then we kind of run out of the space that I've been working on. Let's see. Let's just fill out, before I pass judgment, let's fill out some more space, shall we? Alright, so... You know, what if we actually just reinforced these chords first? Instead of... so E minor, A minor, E minor, F major. Each one lasting 2 measures. I'll probably do that. Let's see here. So... Let's fill out... And then where is this? This is below middle C. Let's see, where is everything spread out again? Where am I missing space? We'll leave out the high ostinato just because that one isn't... That one's transposing, so it's not going to give us a true space. Alright, so... This white space, right here. This is the area that's lacking. What if I have my violins reinforce the chords up here? Maybe on a tremolo. Alright, let's try this. Shall we? Because again, right now I'm trying to create a nice balanced space. And I don't know why I selected all of them, but I'll use them anyways. So to create a balanced, powerful sound here, I need to make sure that my registers are all being used. A quick way to kind of like spread out your registers is to think the general middle register, approximate. Okay, this isn't a hard rule, but this is what the kind of all we'll be working with, is the octave above middle C to the octave below middle C. Anything below that is the low register. Anything above that is the high register. So what I've got is I've got the middle register pretty well filled out by the piano. Low register has the basses and several types of basses. I've got the accordion synth, I've got the windy bass, and I've got the bass strings, just in general. What's missing is this white space, which is essentially the first octave of the upper register. So I'm going to try and fill that register. Again, I did it again. Need to make sure only the first violins is hired. With some chords. So the first chord was... All right, so this is middle C, go an octave higher. Here we are up here. So we've got... what was it? It was E minor over... So we've got E minor over A minor. And then E minor, then A minor over E. So let's go. We'll keep the whole idea of a pedal E. Alright, so we'll go E minor, A minor over E. E minor, and then F major. So then next what I want is something called like the characteristic chords, or the notes. The characteristic notes are the notes responsible for giving the sound, the chord, its flavor. All right, so the root of your chord is always responsible because that names your chord. Then, if it's just a triad, the characteristic tone is the third, that middle note, because that middle note is what determines if it's a major or minor triad, or say a sus chord, which technically wouldn't be a third, but still the middle note. The only time where the fifth becomes a super important note is if the fifth is altered. So, like in a diminished triad, you have a lowered fifth, and etc. If it does not form a perfect fifth with the root, then it becomes an important note. But let's say G minor. We have the E pedal, so normally I'd say C and A. But since we've already committed to the idea that I want this E pedal, then I won't worry about the essential chord. Tone, I'll just make sure that the root is present. And then A minor. All right, so let's see here. Let's get the expression map for the violins set up. So violins, I'm using violin 1, not VC. There we go. 6 first violins. I'm sorry, So I have a neck twitch, and today it's just been causing me all kinds of issues. I should probably go see a chiropractor eventually. See if I can get it adjusted. So yeah, if you see my head twitching and what, that's all that is. Let's see here. Let's listen to it. It's harsh because I haven't treated it. Alright, why didn't this E play below? Let's lower this a little bit. Let's check the quantize. Quantize ends. Let's lower the velocity. What if we raise these an octave? Nah. So what we've got, let's take this. Let's add it to the violin 2. And then we'll just have to add a little bit of life to those in a minute. Let's see. Sai asks, I find it difficult to understand Harmony by Walter Piston, though I would definitely continue reading it. I want to know if there is any beginner level harmony book. Can you suggest? Sure, definitely. I've heard of Harmony by Walter Piston. I've never read it. Actually, on the bookshelf, the bookshelf behind me, I'm sure there's a couple. First, if you can wait, well, probably not. I'm not gonna tell you to wait, but I have a book that goes in depth on harmony, melody, and orchestration that should be coming out later this year. But and it'll be published officially. I don't think I can share the name of the publisher just yet. I'll err on the side of not being able to. So that's going to be a fantastic resource when it comes out. But the Berkeley Press, I have a couple books on my shelf behind me. I'll just leave them on there. But the Berkeley Book of Jazz Harmony is a fantastic book. It's not just about jazz harmony, but it does a great job kind of covering harmony from A to Z. And then also Reharmonization by Randy Feltz is another fantastic book from the Berkeley Press that goes in depth on all kinds of really cool advanced harmony techniques that you can work with. They're both very easy reads. They're very engaging. So A+, I recommend them. They're fantastic resources. Hopefully that helps. For now, let's fix this up a little bit, shall we? Got the velocity there. I'm not going to do anything too big. Let's set expression up here. Modulation. Let's do control. That would be velocity. Let's see. Why don't I have main volume? So let's see here. We're going to go to 73. Set these about, we'll just say 71 is close enough. 73 is about mezzo forte in my process. We'll say just middle modulation. Again, I'm not trying to make it sound realistic yet. I'm just trying to make it blend a little bit better. So let's go here. Let's do the same things. Let's add the violin 2. Let's see here. There we go. We got that loaded. Let's add it here. Violin 2 default. We'll say go long. We'll say modulation, just about middle again. Expression up here. Okay, let's lengthen this a little bit so we can see everything. There we go. We got that going on, that going on. Let's add main volume again. Let's put it again around 73-ish. Let's unsolo these. I want to mute that lion's roar. So I'm starting to build up this area a little bit more. What if I do something tremolo instead of just simply sustained? Tremolo could be used to add a little bit more urgency to the sound, but if I'm going to do tremolo, I'd rather do it on the pedal tone, make the pedal tone more interesting. So let's do tremolo. So it's very subtle. Let's try doing it on both. Abyssal, hello there. Your mic is a little low volume compared to the music. Yes, I know. I'm sorry about that. It's kind of the configuration I have for my audio box. If I knew how to use this thing a little bit better, it's also because, well, I've got them set relatively even, so I can, but I'm pretty far from my mic. And the issue is if I crank up the sensitivity on my mic, you start to pick up the sound from my headphones, and then it creates kind of a loop. And unfortunately, it's just something I don't have a solution for just yet. I'm sure there's one out there. I just haven't spent the time to kind of figure it out because I've been swamped with work. So I apologize for that if that's annoying you. I ask you to please be patient. Just bear with it for now. I'm sure I'll find a solution eventually. But thank you. I'm glad that you really appreciate the channel, though. I really appreciate that, too. I always get excited when I hear that people like my content. But yes, awesome. Yeah, so I'm glad you like the book recommendations, too. All right, so check those out. They are good books. I've been thinking about doing just kind of things on Instagram where I just pick random books off my bookshelf and kind of explain them on my stories. If you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, please do. I'm starting to build more of a presence there. That's kind of where I'm able to engage with people a lot more and respond to comments. Maybe I'll do like a Q&A on the stories or something eventually. We'll see. We'll see. I've been swamped with work, and right now, the two things I'm most focused on right now is this soundtrack, of course. And then when I'm not working on this soundtrack, my biggest focus is on trying to create a guide to emotions in music. In particular, I've talked about the circumplex model of effect, which is a psychological concept where emotions can be ranked or like described based off how much energy they involve and how pleasant or unpleasant they seem to be. So I've kind of used it as a guide to like explain how to perform different music, create different emotions in your music before, but I'm trying to go a little bit step further. I'm trying to create an actual tool that kind of expands beyond the emotions tool I've already created before and says, all right, so if you want to create music that sounds like this particular emotion, first figure out the energy level of this emotion on a scale of, say, like 1 to 10. Next, find out how pleasant it is on a scale of, again, like 1 to 10. And then once you have those two descriptors, I have a couple tools I'm developing right now to determine how much energy your music will have based off different strategies you're using. It's going to be built off of Ben Newhouse's model for energy in music, the idea where he talks about tempo, harmonic rhythm, subdivision of the beat, all that kind of cool stuff, and how that impacts the energy of your music. So I'm going to kind of try to figure out how to marry those together and then finding a scale for like how dark or bright your music sounds to match the pleasantness. So basically, so you can always come up with a description of what your music should look like to match the emotion. That is unfortunately taking a lot of research. I was trying to find some psychometric tools. A psychometric tool is just basically a tool used by psychologists to do things like rate emotional experiences or self-report, different, like, they're tools used in psychological research essentially. And I was trying to find some that were pre-made and available for measuring what they call is arousal level, which is the energy level in an emotional experience. There are a couple, but none that really fit the description I'm looking for. So now I unfortunately probably have to design the tool myself. And then I'll probably have to design my own for the pleasant versus unpleasant factors of the emotions. Sorry if this isn't what you came here for. I'm just going to kind of vent a little bit about one of my passions, psychology. So I tried emailing one of my old professors, who is an incredibly brilliant psychologist who specializes in emotional psychology. So I asked him, hey, are there any psychometric tools you could recommend? I described the purpose of the tool and everything, and he said, unfortunately, nothing that he knows of. So he recommended another person for me to reach out. I'll reach out to her. But my friend and roommate who works as a trauma therapist is also telling me, he's like, I don't think those tools exist. Which sucks, because that means I have to design them personally. Fortunately, I have a lot of experience working in psychological research. That's what I was focusing on all through undergrad and grad school. I do have my master's of social work. I studied to be a therapist. So it's kind of something I get to geek out about. But it's just a lot more work for me because I have to design the tools, then I have to test them, and all to just start kind of creating more content for you guys. So I hope you enjoy the effort that goes into this. I don't know why I started talking about this all of a sudden. I have difficulty tracking my own. I have really bad ADHD, guys. I really do. I will jump down a very deep rabbit hole going all over the place. So yeah, I have no idea why I started talking about this anymore, but that's what I'm spending a lot of my time on as well. So yeah, I think it had to do something with Instagram. I don't know. Follow me on Instagram. That's the moral of the story. All right. Let's see here. Marion X12. It sounds so good. It sounds like heralds a danger that isn't imminent, and there's no telling when it will finally happen. Thank you, Marion X. That's kind of what I'm going for. That's kind of the whole point of this piece is the kind of it's almost kind of like a mystery storyline. The characters pick up on a clue, and something is about to happen. All right, they don't realize what's about to happen. But essentially, the antagonist of the story is going to finally show his true colors. Or her true colors. It's not written with a specific gender in mind. So they could hire an actor, an actress, whatever. But the antagonist is about to show their true colors. So that's basically what I'm trying to build up into. And now I'm just trying to find a way how to do it. Abyssal, thank you. Follow me right away. I appreciate that. Yes, help the channel grow, help the Instagram page grow. The more people who find out about this kind of material, the more time and effort I'll be able to put into it. Because once I start making money on this stuff, a little bit more money on this stuff, I can start dedicating more time to this stuff. Let's see here. That's my soapbox. Buy my merch. That's another big takeaway. Support the channel any way you want. And, I like to get on soapboxes and merchandise stuff, but I really do just appreciate you guys who show up to these streams. These streams, the 2 streams I do each week, have very rapidly become like the high point of my week. I plan my days around them. I get really excited about them. I kind of sit down and get like it's fun. All right, and yeah, I'm hopped up on a bunch of caffeine. There's which oddly enough, this is me being pretty calm right now. If you know about ADHD, caffeine helps you focus a little bit. But yeah, let's get back to work, shall we? Before I start oversharing again. Yeah, let's listen to this. Alright, so strings are working a little bit. What if I fill this out a little bit more with the violas? Instead of having the violas double this, what if the violas kind of fill out, so it'd be a B to fill out the chord, it'd be a C to fill out the chord, another B, another C. Let's see here, is there a way to create some contrary motion between these? Oh well, I can work on that later, but I don't want staccato on this anymore. Let's try tremolo. Let's give this one the same treatment we gave the others, shall we? Go to my starting. Let's add another one for set it to mezzo forte. Let's change the quantize to half a beat so I can do this here. All right, so 73 is about mezzo forte, around that marker. I don't care about the vibrato because we're not doing sustained. Modulations, just do middle expression, get it up there. That should take care of it. Let's lower the velocity a little bit. Let's listen to the beginning, shall we? Let's unmute the line roar. So this is called incremental complexity. We're adding one layer at a time. Helps kind of stretch it out a little bit. Cue the lion roar. That's not good. I need to really mix that in better. Alright, so what if hearing the piano, even though it's just doing the same chords. Alright, I forgot I did this. You'll notice that the chord progression goes, that's the strings. If we go to piano, the chord progression goes just E minor, A minor, E minor, F major. But it's these first three chords, the E minor, A minor, E minor. With the ostinato above it, I changed the ostinato from E to G to the E to A to fit A minor, but then instead of going back to E to G over E minor, I build it up to E minor. So even though it's the same chord, even these are the same chords, and it kind of builds this step ladder, which helps build tension. So I'm wondering, what if I do something similar in the strings? Instead of coming back down, A, what if A goes to B, E goes to G, B goes to E, and then what if we do C, A, F? Let's try this. There we go. That one feels much better now. However, this isn't very good voice leading. What if I just need this top line to move up? So then I have to voice lead the bottom two. Let's do one of these things where what if we go A, so then E, come down. So this is going to be a bit of a leap, actually. This one might not work the most smooth. But let's try it anyways. Let's take the A back down to F. And then let's do A. So there are all kinds of theory rules I'm breaking here. I'm going from closed voicing to open voicing. I'm leaping by more than a third in that bottom line. But if it, remember, the golden rule of music theory is if it sounds good, it sounds good. All right, so it's up to you. All right, something just dropped out. Violin 2 dropped out. Why did violin 2 drop out? I like that. For now. Why did violin 2 drop out? Let's quantize the ends. Quantize real quick, make sure it all fits. Sorry. That lion roar scares the bejeebus out of me every time. I keep forgetting about it. Alright. Sorry, I know that I'm getting a lot of comments. I'll be responding in just a second. I like that. Another thing we could do, I still haven't added the cello. I was planning on having the cello kind of double the piano, but we could do one of these things where, again, incremental complexity, where we start with just the first and second violin. Then they enter with the viola. Then they enter with the cello. And then on the last note we have violins, violas, cello, and basses kind of going on. That could be something cool. We'll see. There's all kinds of fun stuff to explore. Let's see here. Abyssal, I've started using social media for stuff I deem useful so I can procrastinate less. I've tried that too. Hopefully it works better for you. Or if I do, at least I consume educational content, such as yours. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I've got stuff on social media where I'm kind of teaching. I'm still kind of figuring out what I'm doing on Instagram. I've done research on what to do. I've got like plans. I love sharing like little snippets about famous composers. I've done like Max Steiner, Eric Wolfgang, Korngold. I almost forgot his last name. I don't know why. The Newman family, all kinds of cool stuff that I really enjoy doing. Then I have also got little snippets like definitions and such here and there. But what I'm really finding I really enjoy on there is just kind of interacting with you guys more. Doing stories and such, sharing clips from these videos. So yeah, thanks. I hope you enjoy the Instagram page. Abyss also says, I couldn't relate more to your ADHD story. Producing is a nightmare at times, even though it's what I love to do. Yes, that is very much the truth. I love composing, and 9 times out of 10, I could spend all day doing this stuff, unless I can't. And then like the whole idea of like ADHD burnout is real. The idea that no matter how badly you may want to, or how badly you know you're supposed to do something, You physically cannot bring yourself to do it, and it's terrible. So fortunately, I have lots of tools and stuff that I use to help. Lots of strategies in my own life that I use to try and clear that. So lots of digital calendar scheduling so that I get notifications reminding me, lots of timers. And if I ever do feel burnout, I know that what works really well for me, maybe it works for you, is to just change my surroundings. I'll get up, I'll go to a part of town I don't usually go to, or I'll go to a park I haven't been to in a long time. Or one of my personal favorites, I'll go to the movie theater when I can afford it and watch a film that kind of resets me, gets me super excited, and then I am able to get back at work. Let's see here. Louie. Hey, welcome, Louie. Louie is one of my longtime supporters on Patreon and one of my students. It's good to see you. Glad you could make a stream, my friend. Abyssal, that cello makes me travel to a melancholic place. Thank you. Yes. Actually, it's technically a cello. Technically. Only because my bass library doesn't go this high. I want this to be played on a bass. A bass has a different timbre in this range. It requires a talented player to be able to perform up here, but anyone who's like, especially like college students who perform this stuff, if you've played in college for bass, chances are you've had to play bass concertos and all that stuff, so you have a bit more of control. But I just love the sound of a bass being up here, and then I love a bass's ability to be playing up here, and then whoom, just kind of like glide down super low. So yeah, that kind of explains it. Matt Lewis, hey bud, could you quickly explain the secondary diminished seventh chord? Of course. I'd be happy to. Matt is another one of my longtime supporters and students. I'm glad to have you on here, and one of the regulars on the streams. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Let's go over here, shall we, on the piano? All right, so you are looking to create a secondary diminished seventh chord. So first off, what is the idea of a secondary diminished? So the first, it's based off the idea of a secondary dominant. A secondary dominant is that you can take any chord. All right, that is on strings. You can take any chord, and if you take the fifth, remember you add the first, skip the second, add the third, skip the fourth, add the fifth. That's how you create a chord. So that's why it's called the first, third, and fifth instead of 1, 2, and 3. All right, so we've got the first, third, and fifth. If you take the fifth, all right, and you build a dominant 7 chord off of it. All right, a dominant 7 means it's a major chord with an added minor third on top. This particular shape has a very strong interval called a tritone. It's a very dissonant, crunchy sound, and dissonance in music desperately wants to resolve. So we have this nice A dominant 7, and what is the best chord to follow it up with? Its target chord, the one that we just built it from. All right, so we have A dominant 7 to D major. All right, so that's the idea of a secondary dominant, is you can build this kind of dominant tonic relationship off any chord you want. It could even be a minor chord. It works because you take that fifth note, you build your dominant seventh, and that tritone gets to resolve. All right, by moving in. So if we lift this up, the tritone resolves by moving in. And that's why we have such a strong feeling. So this is the idea of a secondary dominant. A secondary diminished is very, very similar. All right? I could go into the theory behind the chords are related to each other. It's very simple. The idea is that you're treating this one like tonic. So if this is the 1 chord temporarily, this would be the 5 chord. So the idea of a secondary diminished is you take the 7 chord from your major key built on this chord, even if this isn't the tonal center. It's a very similar process. You take your original target chord. All you're going to do is you're going to take the note 1/2 step lower. You can find that by adding your D and then just moving it 1 down on Cubase. Then what we're going to do is we're going to build a diminished 7th chord. That means you add 2 minor thirds. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So now we have a diminished chord, And if you'll notice, it's the same exact tritone. And what we can do is we can add we can add a seventh here by doing a minor seventh if you want, like another minor third, or you can do a major third, which technically I guess this would actually be minor seven then up here. Either way, you build your seventh chord, and then that's really it is. You do a minor seven flat five, which is a half diminished, or a fully diminished chord that you want. But when you have that built, it has a nice strong movement. Very similar relationship. The big difference between the two is that the secondary diminished moves up by half step in the root, whereas you know what, instead of deleting it, let's just copy and paste that over here. Whereas sorry if that was super loud. Whereas where is it? No, this is wrong note. And then, yeah, that would be it. Whereas the secondary dominant moves by perfect fifth. So we have an A dominant 7 to D major. Or we have a C sharp diminished 7 to a major chord. It's the same basic idea. It's just how do you build the chord? Do you build it off the fifth or the note a half step lower? Like I said, there's a whole lot of theory behind this that I could just geek out over. Unfortunately, I don't feel like I'm in the best position to teach right now because I don't have visual aids. I don't have notes for you guys. And if I can't really kind of go into detail about how everything works, I just don't feel as confident teaching because I'm always paranoid when I'm teaching that you guys aren't kind of getting the concepts. I always want to make sure that when I'm teaching, everybody's on the same page, everybody understands, which is why I tend to go into so much detail and like to have the notes on the screen for everybody to watch. The gist of it is that, again, you're treating your target chord, in that case it was D major, you're treating it temporarily like your one chord, as if your entire piece is in the key of D major. So a secondary dominant is just the 5 chord, the 5-7 from the key of D major. The secondary diminished is just the 7 chord from the key of D major. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Louis, would adding a passing tone in the violas to bridge close the open voicing work? Definitely. That's what I was going to plan next, actually, before we went down the rabbit hole. That's essentially what I would do. So to create this, so what Louis is talking about is I was initially talking about how this is a little disconcerting for me. All right, the idea that C to G is a leap of a perfect fourth. You usually, in good voice leading or quality voice leading, which there's not really such thing. You're welcome to do whatever you want. But for textbook, I should say, voice leading, I do not want such a large space. I don't want anything larger than a third between my notes. Because the whole point of voice leading is to smooth things out as much as possible. So what Louis is recommending is what's called a passing tone, which is basically a note that passes from one note to the other and helps break that down a little bit. So different options I could do is I could just do one of these. I could just start with the full chord here, move it down to A, which is a third, and then that moves by a second. We could play around a little bit. These are so quiet. I have these strings so quiet. I have to change that. I gotta pan them. There's all kinds of work. This is why I don't usually like making my arrangements in my DAW. Because I get so distracted by all the changes that I need to make to my sound libraries to make them sound the way I want them to sound. I usually like to use a notation software like Finale, or more recently, MuseScore is just killing it. If you haven't found out about MuseScore, it's a free notation software. They've been around for a long time. I remember finding them in high school, which was, like a decade ago for me now. It's coming up on a decade. That's a lot to think about. Anywho, yeah, they came out a long time ago, all right? And they were always the free option. But recently, their update, Cubase 4, is really knocking on the door of being very professional grade, which is ridiculous because it's still free. So the question is, why would you pay hundreds of dollars for Finale like I did? Well, I guess it wasn't hundreds, but it was easily over 100. Or maybe someone wants Dorico or Sibelius. Why would you pay for the professional grade ones when there's a free professional quality one, is the question. Anyways, all of that to say, this whole idea of trying to make each of these sound the way I want them to sound is why I prefer to do my arrangements in notation software. But since I'm working with synths, I just did it in Cubase anyways. I like that. That works. If I wanted to make this extra crunchy, I could make this a dominant seventh. What would I do to make this a dominant seventh? Which note would I replace? I would need to keep the A. A would be important because the whole point of the dominant seventh, which is that shape I showed, is the third and the seventh form a tritone. I don't want to remove the fifth, which is normally the one I'd remove, because it's the most neutral sounding scale degree, because I really like the stepwise motion in the violins here. Which means maybe I should move the F, since that's just the tonic that's already reinforced by the bass line. So if I wanted to do this, I would do E flat. Definitely got a crunchier sound. Let's see how it sounds like with the rest. Welcome to hell. Glad to help, man. Thank you. And welcome, KOS. Welcome to see you again. Or K0S or whatever. I'm sorry. I can't tell if it's an O or a 0. But KOS sounds familiar from something. Ooh, I like that. I like the crunch. Alright, so let's see here. The cellis still aren't doing anything. Let's start from the bottom. Abyssal, interesting. I'm starting uni this year, and they ask for score edition software knowledge, and they recommend Avid Sibelius, Make Music, Finale, which I don't know, lol. Should I try MuseScore instead? You can, if it's allowed. A lot of universities will require either Finale or Sibelius, just because they've been the standard for so long, and MuseScore has only recently, like within the last few weeks, hit this new milestone. So if they allow it, go for it. If not, the main difference between the two is Finale and Sibelius. Finale is by far way more powerful. All right? So if you plan on working as with obscure types of music, like if you want to work with what's it called? Oratorical, or there's some kind of specific term. If you want to do non-traditional stuff and get really experimental with your notation, Finale is the way to go. If you want something much smoother and easier to learn, and that's just going to serve the purpose of writing out your sheet music, Sibelius is probably the way to go. Sibelius is more intuitive. They tend to put out the cleaner, tidier scale sheet paper, or sheet music. I don't know why I said sheet paper. But there's like less of a learning curve, and they do the job that they're supposed to very well. Finale has a much steeper learning curve. They're a bit cheaper, but they are much more powerful if you want to do experimental stuff. So if you were to ask me if I were to do it over again, I'd probably go with Sibelius, or maybe, from what I know about it now, Dorico, if that's an option. Those tend to be a bit more user-friendly, and I just find I don't use a lot of the under-the-hood stuff that's possible on Finale. But yeah, so that would be my recommendation. That being said, I have never used Sibelius or Dorico, so take everything I say with a pinch of salt, because it very much could be one of those life's greener on the other side of the fence kind of thing. Let's listen to this from the beginning again. I am going to change that passing tone in the viola. Let's see here. Still need something for the cello. I have an idea. Let's see if it works. I like the idea of the cello being used to perform a double stop. A double stop is when the cello or any stringed instrument plays more than one note at the same time by bowing multiple strings. It's been a while since I've used double stops. They're typically better for rhythmic ideas. The cello, really any stringed instruments, are not very adept for playing multiple melodies at the same time, because you've got to remember, they've got to bow the same strings with the same patterns. They've got to be able to move their one hand across the fingerboard, so they're usually saved more for kind of rhythmic elements. To do a double stop, you need to make sure it's physically possible first. So low C, then G, a perfect fifth higher, then D, a perfect fifth higher, and then the A, a perfect fifth higher. These are the open notes on a cello, the open strings. There goes the dog again. Apologies. Let's see here. So the cello is down here. If I wanted it to kind of double up these, E and G, would that be possible? Let's see here. So I would need at least one open string. So that would probably be, neither of these would be open strings. Yeah, this A could not play G. D could, yeah, it doesn't look like it's quite possible for this initial two, but this one it's possible. This one, it would be risky, but possible, and then that's definitely possible. I don't know. I just won't go with it for now because I don't want to go through all the trouble of figuring it out. It was an idea. Doesn't need to function. I apologize for the barking dog. Let's see here. Abyssal, would some crescendo staccato strings work after that bass cello solo is over, or will it kill the vibe you're going for? Those might work. In fact, I actually am doing a little bit of staccato basses. You can't hear them too well because in the basses, but there's a pulsing bass. This is something that is reoccurring throughout a lot of the music here, is I'm keeping a pulsing bass in like every single one of these pieces. There's also, if it's not a pulsing bass, it's some repetitive rhythmic element that strikes each beat. The reason why is because I'm writing this for a play. All right, this is not a movie or not a video game, not a TV show. This is for a play that wants a soundtrack like a film. The actors need to be able to follow the music, all right, to understand when certain moments in the music are coming so they can time their delivery. One of the ways I'm helping with that is by making sure the beat is very obvious. So maybe if a certain actor decides, oh, that was the first lion roar, all right, Once the beat plays 8 times in the underlying bass line, that's when I move to this part of the stage or whatever. So it just kind of helps give them a metronome kind of thing to help them move through the scene. I was not asked to do this. This is a decision I made. I don't even know they'll use it or not. But as the composer with a play, which is a very fluid thing, I want to give my music the best chance it can possibly give it to make it in the play. I would not want to write all this music and then have the director suddenly say, this one piece isn't working well. Let's get rid of it. Because that's a lot of time and effort I spent into writing one of my babies, and it just got taken out. So I kind of add that pulse to be helpful. And so I am adding that. So right now the instruments playing that pulse are the basses. The piano is playing a variation of that pulse by playing eighth notes. With the whole... In fact, actually, I think that's 16th notes, if memory serves. 16th notes. Yep, 16th notes. No. Are those 8th notes? So no, yeah. No, yeah, they're 16th notes. Because there's 4 per beat. So the piano's not really playing the pulse. It could be, but I've got the accordion synth playing it. And then I have the high ostinato, which gives a little bit of a groove. So I could just... That's a very, very traditional role for the cello, is to just double the basses an octave higher. I kind of want to do something more with it, though. Let's add the expression map here. We'll see how it sounds, because it might help reinforce that. Because right now, you can't really hear the pulse, but a big reason for that is I just haven't mixed any of this. I haven't bothered finding good balances, following dynamic markings or anything like that. I'm just essentially adding parts. Let's see here. Abyssal reminds me of the Interstellar soundtrack with the clock. I love that section. Thank you. That, anytime anything I do gets compared to Hans Zimmer, even just incidentally, thank you. That means a lot. Even if it's just a similar idea that's cliche as that, I'll take it. All right, I'll run with that. I'm at war, building a corridor. Hello, welcome. Yes. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's kind of building that kind of like tension moving forward. Not sure what you mean by corridor, but I appreciate the wave. Welcome to the chat. Abyssal makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Matt Lewis. Hey, bud, what's a good balance of frequencies in the spectrum? Sorry to ask again, but haven't quite grasped it. All right, so if you're asking about balancing of frequencies, it depends on the genre you're writing in. And honestly, I'm a composer, not a music producer. So when you talk about frequencies, I have a very, very minimal approach. What I can tell you is the kind of approach for pitch distribution in orchestration. All right, I think I've talked about this in general. And then you can kind of build this from here. All right, so the idea of pitch distribution in orchestration. I talked about earlier about how clarity of design, how clear and thoughtful does your music sound. It has to do with a lot of different things, but one of them is pitch distribution. The idea of pitch distribution is that there is a low, middle, and high register in your orchestration. As I mentioned earlier, there's no really hard definition for these, but in general, you could say the low equals C3 and lower. Middle equals C3 to C5, kind of the octaves above and below middle C. And high equals C5 plus. All right, this is just kind of a basic kind of idea. Again, it depends on a piece-by-piece situation, depends on your own tastes. But you've got low, middle, and high register. A couple of rules. The first is that you should never... Well, no, this would be going more into like the melodic ideas. I would say that you should never have more than one melody in a register at a time. That's not necessarily true. There are exceptions to it. Don't want to confuse anybody. So instead, I'm going to focus on the frequency kind of questions about this. But there are basically like 6 things to consider regarding your registers. All right, and this keyboard is so far in front of me because I'm working with my piano in front of me. I do not have a big desk. I used to, and my piano is a little cumbersome. But that's besides the point. I refuse to go down another ADHD rabbit hole at the moment. 6 things to consider regarding your registers. Right? The first one is you can always use the middle register. It is your default. All right, you can always use the middle register. You can have the middle register going constantly if you want to. This kind of area where the bulk of your music should be kind of neither extreme high or extreme low. You can use either the high register or low register by themselves to create extreme ends of tension in your music. All right, the idea here, though, is avoid spending too much time in here. The more time you spend only in your upper register or only in your low register is going to, the longer it's there, the duller it gets. The more quickly it loses kind of its fancy. All right, so then the next one is you can use the high and low registers together without the middle to create extreme tension. So the idea is like if you use the low register by itself, that creates a lot of gravity, a lot of weight, and a very dark color. If you use only the high register, that's a very bright, kind of distant sounding kind of tension. If you use them together and there's nothing in between, then you create a very tense. These two contrasting ideas are essentially fighting each other. All right, and that creates a lot of tension, a lot of energy in your music. But again, without the middle register in there, you do not want to stay here too long. It will very quickly lose its taste very quickly. It's almost like having too many sweets. All right, if you're just munching on candy for way too long, eventually it just loses its taste. It's like it's no longer enjoyable. All right, number 4. So I say you middle register. You can use the high. So you can use the high register to make the middle register brighter and more energetic. You can use the low register to make it sound heavier and more powerful. All right, so this is basically using the middle register with either the low or the high. They're both fine. You can get a little bit more mileage out of them because you're using the middle register with them. But again, they kind of give more color to them. Like, so you're working the middle register, that's your default, that's great. If you want to add energy and tension, go ahead and throw some instruments in the high register. If you want to add some kind of heavier weight, some power to your sound, then add some low end. The 5th one is you can use all 3 to create a massively climactic feeling or energy. Now, that doesn't mean it needs to be loud. Technically, we're using all 3 right now. It's not very loud, but there's definitely a sense of kind of energy and fullness. And if you look at this, I could probably bump these up a little bit higher, and I will once I start working on the mixing and finding the balancings of the arrangement. But we're technically using all 3 registers here. If I were to do everything much louder in a more traditional orchestra, this would be a very powerful, powerful sound. And then the last note on all of these is you want, I don't know why it's all caps, but it fits anyway. So this is the most important. To move through different configurations. Never stay with one for too long. All right, so the idea here is that you have 5 different kind of general options. Middle register only, high or low only, high and low together without the middle. You have the middle register with either high or low, and then you have all 3. Those are the basic combinations you can create. And anytime you're working with a single piece of music, you want to make sure you're moving through those. Maybe it's on a phrase by phrase basis. Maybe it's faster, maybe it's slower. But you want to make sure that from A to Z in whatever piece of music you're working on, you never just stay in one of these options the entire time. You are physically capable of doing so, but it will make your music sound a little more dull, a little less lively, and a little less organic. All right, whatever you do, it will sound off to the listeners for some reason. So yeah, these are the basic guidelines for orchestration, Matt. Like I said, I am not a producer, so I don't often think in frequencies. I know about frequencies and the physics and stuff because I had to study it for a time in school, when I was in school. But I just don't have that area of expertise yet. I'm not a synth designer. Well, I'm technically starting to learn more about that. I'm learning how I made most of the synths in this piece. The only ones I didn't make, I believe, are the accordion synths. So I am learning how to work with synths, but I still don't think that way. I still think like a more traditional composer with orchestra. So hopefully these kind of guidelines help out. Louis asks, what if you made the cello follow the piano pulse in ostinato, but in contrary motion and a lower octave? I like that. All right, especially the slower. So basically what Louis is saying is I take the piano and I move. I'm sorry, Copper has just been very noisy today. You can probably hear him barking downstairs again. He doesn't usually bark. He's usually just a very kind of sleepy dog who just kind of lays around unless it's time to take him out for a walk or something. But today, for some reason. All right, so the idea is, Louis is saying if I'm doing the piano like this, what if I have the cello an octave lower going, well, I'd probably do B. Or even just kind of matching it. That sounds a bit too much like it sounds a bit too much like an ambulance. But what if, I do like that idea. So what if, the problem is I never transposed it. That's another thing. So first, let's transpose it up an octave because it's supposed to play an octave above the bass. Let's hear how it sounds. So it gives it a bit more power, a little bit more presence. Now let's see how it sounds. First, let's do eighth notes, shall we? Then we'll do... Oops. Let's listen to this. And I'll find the balance later. I like that. What if we increase the velocity a little bit? Then we'll just do this real quick. And then we'll raise this because it's going to be an F. And why is this not an F? This should be an F. Let's... Oh yeah, it was an... No. Let's see. So there should be an F up here. And then what else was playing the bass? We had... The piano was not on the bass. The accordion synth was on the bass. So let's make sure this is raised. My word, what is Copper barking at? I'm not about to get murdered, am I? That would be a real bummer. The one time he's barking up and I just don't pay attention, someone walks in. I kind of live in the ghetto, so... Actually, there's no kind of about it. I live in the hood. It's fine, nothing wrong with that. Why can't I see? So I hope no one's trying to break in. It's too early for anybody to try break in. Let's see here. So that's, then we'll bring this one up. Or did I already do that? All right, so wait, no, yeah. So there's no need for the windy bass to move up. And again, that was oversharing. I apologize for that. I tend to do that a lot. Stick to the topic, right? Let's see here. here. Down here. So the windy does need to move up. Let's try this. So it's supposed to be F here. So something, there are several things that are not on F dominant 7. Abyssal. Yeah, I can imagine more instruments being added to the pulse as the music continues, and then going back to the bass alone when you've built enough tension. I really like that idea. Actually, I'm going to steal that idea. It's mine now. Thank you, Abyssal. No, yeah, just the idea that like adding more and more instruments to the pulse. That just sounds really fun. Make the pulse more and more powerful as it goes on, because there is more. This is supposed to get cut out at one point, so it could be like a, you know, I'm writing that down. I'm writing that down, Abyssal. Thank you. That idea resonates with me. All right, so you said make pulse stronger and stronger. My scratch is so messy I can barely understand it. Make pulse stronger and stronger until last cutout is only bass line. All right, I like that. All right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make the pulse stronger and stronger until eventually we just have. All right, so where is this? Wait, was it an F major? Yeah, I thought we went to F major. Yeah, so the piano also needs to change. I was positive it was. Yeah, so it's F major, so this is going to need to move up. Let's find out where else the dissonance is. So first, this is confusing. I don't know why it's so long. Let's bring that down, and let's just make sure that everything in the last two measures follows. All right, so yeah, that follows. That's an F. Wait, where is this stop? All right, so yeah, it stops there. Let's see here. Windy bass goes up to F. Ringing bell needs to change in the last two measures, which in fairness I could probably just use pitch shift for that. We'll see. In fact, yeah, I think I will use pitch shift for that. So let's take these last two measures here, go to F, let's go back up here, let's see where the pitch shift is on here. Alright, so oscillator, no, that wouldn't be it. Voicing, maybe. Where is the pitch shift? Global. There's pitch shift. I should know where the pitch shift is on this. Let's see here. Pitch shift. Pitch bend right here. So we'll go up one and down one. So what we're gonna do is going to keep the ringing bell down there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a metronome. Make sure we're on here. And for the last two measures, I'm just going to add a little bit of pitch bend. So now let's see here, because it sounds like I may have messed some stuff up. All right, so first, let's delete this. It should not be starting up there. Then up here, let's actually just shorten this, shall we? Go all the way up. There we go. All right, we got more. Abyssal, maybe a bit cliche. No worries. No, I really do like that idea. Because that's a great way. It gives the music a destination. Which is very important. Especially since I can't really time any of this. I can't really have hit points because it's not a film, it's a play. And the timing is going to change on a night-by-night basis. That's really going to help quite a bit. Give a sense of direction. Louis, or maybe I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about and should take my compulsory afternoon nap. No. I really enjoy this. I love the idea of that on the cello, and I am going to get back to that in a moment. And Abyssal, oh yeah, awesome. People are being nice and supportive. There we go. I like that. It's subtle. Let's go here. Let's get rid of the solo. So that works. Where was the cello? All right, so let's go bring that down to, we could do C. That C works. Let's bring the modulation up a little bit. Let's bring the volume up from 73 to about 93. So from mezzo forte to about forte. Let's bring all the offbeats slightly down. Alright, so what if we do one of these? We did eighth notes. Nah, I don't kind of like the sound of that. We'll just stick to this. We'll highlight everything a little bit again. We're making good progress, though. Let's listen to the beginning again. This time I will unmute the lion roar, so let's make it just a little bit. Let's drop it like 3. Let's fix that. Let's do audio processes. Bounce selection. Place. So I can lower it by like, let's say 2. Oh no! YouTube is telling me that it's glitching. Or it says, error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. I apologize for that. I hope it's not super annoying. Hopefully you guys can still hear me and hear the music. If it's causing an issue, let me know. I don't imagine we'll be on here much longer anyways. Let's listen to the beginning, see what it sounds like. Let's see here. A couple more questions, it looks like. Sean, how long until surprise augurs of spring chugging because Stravinsky? Alright, unfortunately, I imagine you're talking about Rite of Spring by Stravinsky. The idea of adding those rhythmic strings. That would be fun. That'd be fun. Sorry if I'm not following the comment a little bit, but that would be fun. I would love that. I really would, actually, now that I think about it. I'm loving the idea of just kind of adding some polyrhythms in. Could I get away with that? I don't know. Sorry. I'm trying to think about the pros and cons. The pros, it would sound awesome. It would sound chaotic, and it would really double down on the feeling of tension and something big coming. The downside is the idea of how functional would that be. Because again, this is for a play, not a film. And so the actors are going to be listening to the music. I don't want to throw anyone off. And more importantly, I don't want to take attention away from their dialogue. If I start doing too many freaky things in the music, the audience is either going to think, oh wow, listen to that really cool music. Or more likely, all right, what the heck is going on with this creepy music? Like, was he doing this for? Either way, it could distract from the yeah, I just talked myself out of it, unfortunately. It was a great idea, Sean. Thank you. If it was a film, I'd probably do it because that sounds like lots of fun. But because it's a play, because it has to be live, and because I don't want to distract from the dialogue and the actors, I'll probably play it a little bit safe. This is, I think Ryan Leach did a video recently about the difference between artistry and craftsmanship. And this is one of those artistry versus craftsmanship kind of things. I need to make sure it's functional before I can start doing all the cool stuff I want to do. And it still says things are going poorly. It says I have poor stream health since 4:05. That's today. That's right now. I don't know why it says 4:05, but that's unfortunate. If there was something that it could do about it, I'd try to do something, but I'm not sure if I can. So let's just start. Let's listen to this from the top again. See what we got going. Turn off the metronome. Sad to see it go, Louie, but glad you enjoyed the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully we'll be talking again soon. Ah, see, that's what I thought. That's what I thought, Sean. Thank you. That unfortunately is the idea of like having to be functional at the moment, but thank you. Alright, why is it all of a sudden having issues? Oops. Opening Task Manager, don't mind me. Just seeing what's going on. Alright, so apparently what's happening with the stream is Google Chrome right now is just guzzling down my RAM and my CPU. I've only got the 2 tabs open, and it's doing that, unfortunately. Oh, I'm in desperate need of a computer upgrade. Let's see here. I'm actually probably going to call it in just a minute. Thank you so much, everybody, for the fantastic recommendations. I had some great ideas that I'm super excited to work with. I'm just going to kind of get up and stretch my legs in a little bit. As usual, let's kind of pull one of these. Let's listen to everything on here from the top. I've got no idea how well Cubase is going to perform because looking at Task Manager, Chrome is still using an unreasonable... It says 100% of my CPU is being used right now, with like 70% of it being Chrome. I don't know if that's the stream, or... Well, it's got to be the stream. It's like the only thing going on at the moment. Let's see here. If there's anything I can do to fix it. There's just... No, there's just like... Yeah. All right, well... Let's see what we can listen to. I will be on for a few more minutes. You know the drill as we listen to it. If there's any questions, any comments, any ideas, anything you'd like to see me address, put them in the comments below. In a moment, we'll get back to work. But, oh yeah, Sean, I'm surprised there aren't any low register swells or something. I've thought about it, and I probably will add that eventually. Just the trick, like I said, is this technically is supposed to be background music. This is supposed to stay in the background. It's not supposed to compete with the dialogue. It's not supposed to even really register to the audience that they're listening to music. So if I get too crazy with it, it can cause problems. But I probably will be adding some swells. In fact, I'm going to make a note of that too. See if that works. Let's see here. Low register swells. If I were to do it, it would probably either have to be in a different instrument since the basses are playing staccato, or in this up here, my kind of windy bass instrument. In which case I could probably add some swells. The trick would be impacting the lower bass and not the noise, which is creating that wind sound. Because the wind sound is specifically written into the script. But let's listen to some stuff, all right? So like I said, as usual, if you have any questions, any comments, any ideas you'd like to see me address, pop them down below. We are about to see how well Cubase handles all of this. And then afterwards, after we've listened to it, after I've addressed everyone's comments, questions, ideas, we'll call it a day. Let's see what we can do. I was about to say it was handling everything so well. Let's start over. Hopefully it works. This is actually the same exact thematic idea that we've been working on today. Yep, and Cubase is just struggling at the moment. Oh man. It is on the struggle bus. Alright, yeah, I'm just gonna stop it here. My computer is not well. If you guys have been following the streams, you guys already know that these pieces are anyways. I was just gonna listen to them to get a little bit of a fresh perspective, but Chrome is killing my computer right now. As you can see, for some reason, 100% CPU. There's some smaller stuff going on in the background, but it's mostly Chrome, Cubase, and OBS are destroying my computer right now. Oh, it didn't even let me grab that. So I'm probably going to call the stream here. Let's see here. A couple good comments by Sean. Did you know that Ryan Leach has some ancient blogs from Track40? I did not. I meant to look that up, though. I'm a big Ryan Leach fan. I don't watch his videos as much as I should. I've caught a couple of them, though, and I love his teaching style. I love his perspective on things. He's an amazing teacher. I'm sure if you're here, you're already aware of his channel. If you're not, though, for some reason, check it out. Incredible teacher, taking YouTube by storm. Wonderful composer. A lot of great information over there. But yes. Oh, wow, they go back to 2008. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really have to check this out. But for now, my friends, thank you to everyone who stopped by. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be going live again on Thursday. So if you come up with any questions or ideas, or you just want to hang out, feel free to stop by. Don't forget you can show support for the channel on Patreon by purchasing my merch with the links below. There's all kinds of links below to help show the channel. But if you want to just show your support, liking and subscribing to the channel is one of the biggest things you can do. And you can also, if you share this link or whatever your favorite video of mine is, share it somewhere where you think everyone else will enjoy it. That goes a very far way to help the algorithm. The algorithm loves to see when people are sharing videos. When you share a video, it thinks, oh, that's awesome. This video is really cool. People want to share it. And then it starts pushing it to more people. So that's one of the best things you can do to help support the channel. I'll get off my soapbox again. Thank you, everyone, for another wonderful stream. Until next time, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music, my friends. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.